Hi friends, this is Barbara Dahl coming to you from my cozy rocking chair on a Wednesday afternoon. I don't know what time of day it is for you, but this is where I am now. And just a little bit of catch up with what I've been doing. Rocking chair, knit and chat. And the first thing I wanted to do was show you my journal Zentangle from this morning. So I'm just going to bring it in like that because you don't need to see all my writing. You can kind of see the quote underneath it, but that was from this morning. And what it says, because that's backwards, without commitment, you'll never finish. And I picked that up on Instagram today from something Denzel Washington said. And I thought, without commitment, you'll never finish. Without committing to something, things don't get done. Now, in the world of crafting, that may not be a bad thing, because sometimes we can be process crafters where it's more about the learning curve, it's more about the journey than it is about the finished object. Sometimes it's the finished object. And when I think about the work I did last week, I was working on my daughter's floor mat for the trailer for her birthday. And that was a very specific project with a tight deadline. So I was working on that fairly steady and regularly. I had moments that were not very pleasant and other moments where it was coming together and I thought, this isn't as hard as I thought it would be. So I was happy about that. So that was not, it was about the process and getting it set up, but it was also about the finished object. So the other thing that I've been working on, and I know I've talked to you about it, is my socks for April. So there's the finished sock. So it's a vanilla latte sock pattern and an afterthought heel. The yarn is, I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. The colorway is called Great Blue Heron from Songbird Yarn and Fibers. So allaboutbirds.org if you need more information about the Great Blue Heron, which is one of my favorite birds. And this yarn specifically 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. So a really nice yarn to work with. Anyway, one sock done, and I just finished the toe on the second sock. It was supposed to be done by the end of April. So I'm calling today, although it's May 1st, I'm calling today April 31st. So what do I have left? I've got to put the heel in, the afterthought heel. So the most time-consuming part of this is picking up those stitches. But I can do that. And there's lots of tutorials out there on how to do an afterthought heel. I don't have a preference for heel anymore. I do a boomerang, German short row, and I do a heel and gusset in the eye of the partridge, and like just whatever works for me. But these will be done, keeping my fingers crossed, later today. So maybe while we're chatting here, I can start working on that a little bit. The other thing I've been doing, and I'm so excited about, is I'm trying to do some dyeing. So here is a sock blank that I got. Merino nylon. This colorway I call early watermelon. So dark and then the light and the green. And then this one I call early strawberry. So they're not ripened up enough yet to be called strawberries. And there's hints of green. Can you see that? Just splotches of green every once in a while. So maybe you can help me decide which one should I skein up to try out. I haven't done this with commercial yarns. This is the first time I've dyed a commercial yarn for personal use, or if somebody would like one of these, let me know. It's good quality, great Great yarn. I'm so happy about it. So if you'd like hand-dyed yarn, please do let me know in the comments below. And if you have a preference for colors, you can let me know that as well. A friend of mine at church this morning during a break from quilting and Bible study picked dandelion blossoms off the church lawn for me. It's covered. It's absolutely covered. So don't worry, we didn't, nothing to do with bees. We didn't hurt them. We didn't not leave enough for them. There's tons. So I will be doing some dyeing with natural dyes, which is really where I want to go with the dandelion, and I'll bring you along on that process. The other thing I did with the leftover dye was this. Oh, this braid. Got a little bit of stuff in it. Same colors. This is from Knit Picks. It's a sock yarn, 80/20, I think. So superwash merino and nylon, and I have to tell you, it is so soft. It is just so soft. So it would be, again, for socks, or I could use it for a shawl. It would make a really nice shawl. Lots of lighter color in this one, so it would spread out the colors a bit more. But I really do enjoy dyeing. I've been dyeing for quite a while, just not the commercial spun yarn. So that's what's new for me. So I'm just going to pick up a couple of my needles here. And I received this beautiful lilac from one of my friends at church. She has great success with breaking up, the pots and coming up with new ones and what have you. So she brought that in for me today. And I have a light pink and white variegated that I'm going to give her a leaf of, and she's going to try to propagate it. So I'm looking at this poor sock. Has anybody done this? Where you pick up the stitches and rip out this and do that and who knows what else, right? So I thought maybe I would do a little bit here while we chat, if it doesn't take too much of my time or concentration, because you got to think about what you're doing. The last thing you want to do when you finish a pair of socks is to drop a stitch, right? Do not want that. And I've used what I thought was a high contrast yarn. And the last time I did this, it wasn't a high contrast yarn in the other sock, and it was really hard to pull out. So this time, I thought I'll use this white. It's a little bit of a coarser yarn, easy to manipulate, but then as I get across it, it runs into sort of the cream color of the colorway of the yarn I'm working with. So I just don't know. What do you think? Is this a favorite thing for you to do? It reminds me sometimes too much of the fine work in putting thumbs in mittens, which I don't like either. I don't like doing thumbs. But you have to do it, right? It's like weaving in ends. Nobody wants to weave in the ends. But it's part of the process. It's, kind of what you have to do. So if you're wondering kind of what I have been doing, what's been on the needles, there's a few things still on the needles, but I didn't make a lot of progress because I was working on my woven piece primarily last week, and the reason I'm behind in finishing this sock. So I'm trying to decide, okay, so what sock am I going to do for May? I have sock yarn put aside for me. I just don't know which one I'm going to start. So maybe you can help me with that. I could start with one of these that I just dyed and use it as a test piece to make sure that it all works out. And if anybody would like one of these skeins as a tester for me, let me know and I can give you a good discount on the yarn. and get it shipped to you. Because I need different people to give me feedback, right? That's the only way I'll learn. So what else is on my needles? I'm still working on the Boneyard shawl, which is a prayer shawl I'm working on for church. I'm still working on the Botanical shawl by Stephen West. It's coming along really well, but no real progress. I don't think I picked it up since the last time we chatted. And my whatever sweater, again, maybe 1 row, maybe 2 rows, not much. The Easterly blanket, I may have added 2 different skeins, and that was it for that. So not too much extra. And there were a couple of days when I was feeling kind of, blah. That wasn't very nice of me, was it? I was feeling kind of blah, and so didn't knit hardly at all, which is rare for me to not pick something up. I tried doing a little bit of crochet work. I didn't like it. I have a really nice, more expensive crochet hook, and I don't like it. I think I'll stick to the old cheap ones because they seem to do the best for me. See, and as I'm going along here, you can see I'm just picking it out and putting the stitches on both these needles. What was the other thing I wanted? I only had one other thing I wanted to show you, and was this little tiny piece of green that I did on my spindle that came from this. So it's in my jar back here, and will go into the Northeasterly blanket. I had thought, with being April and spring's on the way kind of thing, that I would spend more time outside, but it just didn't happen. We had some really chilly weather this April compared to other years. Lots of rain. I know the people in Toronto reported record-breaking rain for this April. We did manage to get the barbecue tank filled, the propane tank, so we did barbecue a couple of times, but we ate inside. It's just kind of one of those times a year. But I'm happy for May. I'm really, really happy for May. We have lovely rabbits we're watching outside. The daffodils are just about done. As the tulips have gotten up a little bit higher, I think the rabbits have abandoned them for dinner because they were chewing all the leaves. And now I've got a couple of buds coming. The forsythia in the neighborhood's out. Magnolia trees are out. They're just absolutely stunning. I have an ornamental type something or other in the backyard here, and it's dropping dropping blossoms today as if it was confetti, because we have wind and the blossoms are almost done. So tell me, what is on your needles right now? Do you have something specific in mind that you're working towards? Are you getting outside more, depending on where you live? I know for those further south in the southern hemisphere, it's coming into autumn. The whole shift, I couldn't imagine. Yeah, we might be heading out a bit this weekend, but the weather says rain, so I don't know. I just don't know. Do you have your cup of tea or hot coffee with you? I have some G0, Gatorade Zero. To wet my whistle. It almost reminds me of a lime popsicle. Do you remember lime popsicles? That's what it tastes like. So as much as I'm not really big into lime, it's pretty tasty. Yeah, I kind of like it. And it's got some electrolytes in it, just like Gatorade does, but it doesn't have the added sugars, which I don't need. On a positive note, my meeting with the doctor was good. My numbers were good, getting quite normalized, and that excites me. And I actually asked the doctor if she liked and enjoyed her work, and she said she does, and especially so when she's helped somebody get back to their what would be normal, regulated blood sugars, and ultimately better health. So that was kind of an interesting conversation I had with her. I'm always interested why people do what they do. So I like to ask. Anyway, I guess that's possibly all I have to chat with you about. What am I reading right now? I'm reading book number 1 in the Bridgerton series. So if you've been living under a rock, Google Bridgerton. The next season will be out in a few days, I think, on Netflix, and I'm a big fan. But I'd never read the books, so one of my lovely daughters passed on her Kindle to me, and I had already purchased it. I had already downloaded it into my Kindle app. So I'm thinking, yep. So I picked it up again. I haven't gotten very far, but I'm not a big reader, so that's a good thing. The other thing I'm reading the Daily Stoic, and that reminds me, we didn't read it this morning, my dear heart. And productivity-wise, this is going to be backwards, so I do apologize, but there we go. Feel Good Productivity by Ali Abdaal, and I've just barely cracked it open. It's a fairly big book, but I follow him and I like his process and his wisdom, so that's also on my table to be read. Between that and what I read for Bible study prep and sermon prep, that kind of thing. Spent some time at the church this morning practicing on the piano for a hymn to share with everyone on Sunday that some may not know. So I'll introduce it to the choir. And I may even try to get over and record it and post to YouTube. So you might want to watch for that. And if there's no copyright strike on it, it'll come up, and that'll be kind of fun too. So other than that, and we're going to start working in the garden soon. Not too sure what all we're planting yet, but tomatoes for sure. Definitely tomatoes. The greenhouse kit that we got, it's not really a greenhouse, it's like a hoop, small hoop raised bed. I'll be able to protect my seedlings from the squirrels, the cardinals, everybody who eats the tops off of our plants. So tomatoes, maybe some peppers, sunflowers, and then of course once they get strong enough, you take the plastic off of it. I have some basil to put out if I choose to do that. So gardening fun, trying to be a little bit more self-sufficient. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to keep doing this. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see a picture of the finished socks that I'm really excited about. And I don't know which yarn for my next socks or even which pattern. I have a whole bunch of patterns lined up. So I'll choose something different. This is the second in a row of doing the vanilla latte. So it's time for a change. And I'll just continue rocking and enjoying my day. I hope you're enjoying your day. God bless. Till next time. Bye for now.